Welcome back to the Lift for Life podcast. I am here with G-Dog, and we've not seen each other in ages.
Is it like 1.5 months or something? It's a long time.
That's a bit dramatic.
Maybe a month.
3 weeks, I think. But for us, that's quite a long time. But how are you this evening, G-Dog?
Amazing. So you've been to Oman, I've been to Kenya, and loads of stuff been going on. It's been absolutely crazy.
Any big news?
So I found a gym in the safari.
Which was
just
iconic.
Awesome. So I was talking to our Maasai warrior, and I asked him, unbelievable, there's no gym, I don't know what to do. And he said, don't you realize that the rangers have built their own gym? So I thought maybe average sort of thing with a bit of concrete. But it was a full gym inside a box. But of course I had to be protected because there was lots of lions and leopards and cheetahs around.
So how did you get there? Did you just run with the wildebeest?
The problem was we had an escaped elephant in our house. And so I had to be driven 5 minutes to the gym with the Maasai in order to avoid being attacked by an elephant. I made it. And I had the Maasai spot me. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to lift the barbell. So I realized from the outset the spotting would have to be focused on lion avoidance as opposed to barbell collapse.
I'm great, thanks, G-Dog.
Sorry, so I always forget. Yeah. So tell me all about your life in the past few weeks. So you've had an amazing trip to Oman, and what else have you done?
Just live life. Worked hard, played hard, and just been very grateful. Life is fantastic. Thank you for asking. But Oman was incredible as well. I didn't quite get the outdoor gym setup that you did, but waking up every morning, jumping in the ocean, which wasn't really cold water therapy, to be fair, because the water was so warm. But it was pretty spectacular and great to spend some time with Izzy. But there's also another thing we discovered, G-Dog, and I know you're a bit of a fashion icon these days, but the white shirt didn't work, did it?
No.
Comments have been flooding in all across the world saying, you've given Angus chat about wearing white. You shouldn't do it yourself either.
Makes me look pasty.
Just a little bit.
I've got a little bit of a tan from my Kenyan trip. So I think maybe I could have got away with it today, but I still think it's just too risky. So I'm definitely
We are now.
blue
You'll
and black.
notice all podcasts now will be dark colours because we're too pasty for whites.
But I've got rid of my cold, which is incredible. So I posted on Instagram last night that I was on my way to dinner. I'd been to the gym to get rid of my cold because I was doing tepid water therapy in Kenya. So in the morning, the temperature was about sort of 8-9 degrees. And the water temperature maybe is like 11, 12 degrees. So I was swimming each morning.
That's solid.
So tepid. And it had given me a bit of a chill, so runny nose. So I thought I'll go to the gym, lift weights, and get my immune system going. And now I don't have a cold.
I had a cold for an afternoon on Friday as well. And it's funny how when you then go to the gym and actually things like sweat it out or you are just in better shape, you are able to bat it off much easier, aren't you?
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. Should we crack on with this podcast? So today we are talking about dry January and why we both believe, well, I definitely believe.
You haven't heard my conclusion yet, so you're saying that. It's a bit risky.
You might change your mind, but in the past you've commented as well that you kind of agree with me. But today we are talking about why dry January is a waste of time. Or is it? G-Dog, what is dry January?
So dry January started much more recently than I expected. So it started in 2011. I thought it was a very old thing.
That's absurd.
No, 2011. So in 2011, a woman called Emily Robinson gave up alcohol for a month whilst training for a half marathon. And she joined Alcohol Concern in 2012 in the UK. And they decided it would be quite a cool thing to create a dry January. And so the first official year of dry January was the year after she joined Alcohol Concern, 2013, and 4,000 people in the UK signed up to it. Last year, 2024, I haven't got the data for 2025 yet, but 2024, 215,000 people officially signed up for it. Now, obviously, there'll be people that don't officially sign up that do it. So if you think officially it's 215, then it's like quite a significant number of people. I think you can guess maybe 500,000 people are doing Dry January. So huge potential audience for this particular podcast. And it's now globally spread. So they have the equivalent of Dry January in France. It's called Défi de Janvier in France. As you know, my French is amazing. I was looking for a Japanese version, so I should give you my Japanese, but couldn't find that. In Australia, there's something called Feb Fast, which is broader than just dry, but it's become a bit of a Dry January thing. So alcohol-free challenge in Australia. They also have them in Sweden, Norway, the US, New Zealand, and Canada. So it's a totally global phenomenon, this Dry January. And what you're supposed to do is basically not drink any alcoholic stuff in the entire month. Have you ever done Dry January?
No. And I would say for a number of reasons, I find for me, if I was to do a sober month, it wouldn't be a very optimal one, considering I have a lads and dads ski trip, my own birthday and Izzy's birthday. So in terms of the practicality around events that I might want an alcoholic beverage, I wouldn't do it. Nor have I ever felt the necessity to do it. And I think the other additional thing is I think the majority of people who do it end up going immediately back to their old habits in February. And my belief around Dry January and why I believe it's a waste of time is because the majority of people do it, as I said, go back to their old habits. When actually, if they just said, do you know what, rather than having 30 drinks on a weekend, I'm actually going to take down my alcohol consumption and try and integrate it into my life in a more sustainable way where I can get results in the gym too and feel much more confident and better about myself. And I just think the extremity leads to obviously craving alcohol way more. And then come February, first weekend, you end up going back to old habits.
Yeah. So same here. I've never done Dry January, and I thought it was slightly pointless anyway, because for a start, most people go skiing in January. So if you're doing dry,
you can't just say most people go skiing in January. Anyway, carry on.
but obviously, if you're skiing, then you don't want to have obviously you're going to have alcohol on the slopes, right?
Yeah, so, but it's just, anyway, carry on.
Anyway, so it's a stupid time to do Dry January if you're going to go skiing. Secondly, also, you're generally wearing more clothes in January. So if you're doing Dry January to get more ripped, then what's the point? Because you're whatever. So I decided, perhaps stupidly, to do a Dry July a few years ago.
You really were impressive about this.
So I thought that the whole point of Dry January is not because of like mental clarity and reducing alcohol addiction, but actually to reduce your calories, because alcohol is obviously very calorific. So I thought Dry July, but it really annoyed everybody that I know, because everybody likes to like have rosé by the river or whatever in July. And so it meant that every time I went out for dinner with everyone and they ordered a bottle of wine, I would say, I can't drink, I'm having a Dry July. Depressed everybody around me, and they all felt guilty they were drinking. I wasn't drinking, and I just ended up losing a lot of friends. So I think you need to be very careful socially in doing that. And if you are doing a Dry January or a Dry July, don't tell all your friends about it, and just be secretive, like have sparkling water instead of gin and tonic and stuff that is not obvious. So that is a social aspect of it. But I looked into the different medical reasons for doing a Dry January, and unfortunately, it's quite good reasons for it. So do you know, Angus, what is the UK Chief Medical Officer's recommendation for weekly alcohol consumption?
Isn't it 1 to 2 units a week?
What? 1 to 2 units? That's ridiculous.
Isn't that?
It's 14 units a week, right? That's the Chief Medical Officer's recommendation.
It can't be 14 units.
14 units a week, right? So 14 units a week would be basically what, a glass of wine every day, roughly, something like that.
Sorry, recommended amount.
Yeah. So don't have more than 14 units a week. UK Chief Medical Officer.
Where did you get that research?
UK Chief Medical Officer's website.
That is so interesting.
It's 14 units a week.
Okay.
It's not a health target, but it's a ceiling.
Okay.
And anything above that,
yes,
significantly raises your cancer risk.
Yes.
But it is true that no intake is fully safe, right? But staying below 14 units a week is ideal. So first of all, I decided, having done that research, sitting in my house in Kenya, to think about how much alcohol I drank last week. Just say, oh, I haven't really drunk that much, a glass of wine at lunchtime in the evening, etc. It's fine. So my average Kenyan day was a glass of rosé at lunch, one single glass, a gin and tonic pre-dinner, 2 glasses of wine at dinner, a gin and tonic after dinner, most days. So I was there for 6 days. So it was 48 units of alcohol.
You are on holiday, though.
Yeah, but that's compared to 14 units, which is the recommended level. So on a week's holiday, what I thought was pretty average sort of thing, rosé at lunch, gin and tonic, et cetera, I was blowing the target out of the window.
No, my point is, though, is for a lot of people, they will have a lot more than how much you had on holiday. And so the extremity of what people are having when people are going out like on the smash, let's say they're having 10 plus drinks, like the drop from that into dry January is very significant.
True.
And so the point being is there is surely finding a more sustainable approach all year round. And I'm not here to say alcohol's good for you. And it's not. Like, there's no point. It is poison. But in the right situations, 80-20 rule, it does, I find, very much enhance situations. But I can do it in a way where it doesn't affect my day-to-day performance in life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it was very stark doing that analysis, because every time I go to my annual Bupa medical checkup and they say to me, how much alcohol do you drink during the week? Is it below 14? I sort of say, it's about 14, I guess, maybe 12, something like that. But when you actually sit down and you calculate it, you realize actually, particularly on holiday, 48 units compared to the recommended 14. And also they say it's best to spread it out rather than doing it in binge. So I was thinking that I was spreading it out by having 48, but 6 units a day, 8 units a day.
I don't understand why you seem quite baffled by your discovery.
Well, it just really put it into stark contrast how much I was drinking. So as soon as I did that on the final, I did the research on the 4th or 5th day in Kenya. On the final couple of days, I literally went completely alcohol free.
God's sake.
No, but I think if even I, doing all of this research, notices, our listeners may be genuinely shocked.
But everyone knows alcohol is bad for you.
I know, but I think people get genuinely shocked about the amount they're actually drinking when you actually count the number.
I've never been. I'm okay. Keep going. What else you got for us?
So I was looking.
You can imagine him on holiday just being like, I've got to stop drinking alcohol. So he does the dry January approach and cuts it immediately. And then he's there I bet, what were you having, kombuchas instead?
Sparkling water. So during...
So we've got the Live for Life Christmas dinner.
It's Friday. No, obviously forget it. But during January, if you do dry January, this is what happens to you, right? The liver reduces fat accumulation. Inflammation goes down. Your enzyme load drops because you're not processing the alcohol. Your blood pressure falls. Your resting heart rate improves. Your sleep quality improves. Your alcohol tolerance drops. So when you resume drinking, you may get drunk earlier, quicker. And evidence from UK's alcohol charity, which I've just described, says that on average, people drink less after dry January and for the following 6 months, even if they do return to alcohol, which I was surprised at because I thought people would just binge in February. But the data shows But again, this data is based on those 214,000 people who actually went in to officially say, I'm doing dry January. So I think the average person, the other 250,000, is binging in February massively. So to be fair. But anyway, if you binge in February, you're totally destroying it, right? And then also, it improves your self-efficacy because you learn to abstain as a result of doing dry January. So you're learning that you can actually do without alcohol. And your liver and cardiovascular system have a genuine recovery that is medically meaningful. However, this is the big problem. Everybody that goes back onto their normal alcohol consumption will totally wipe out the entire effect of dry January. So literally, the point of this podcast, is it pointless to do dry January? If you go back to normal levels of alcohol consumption after dry January, it is totally pointless. It only has any effect if you permanently lower your alcohol consumption after dry January.
Very interesting. I think you've confused people, but very interesting.
Why?
Well, I feel like I've kind of said, you've kind of made out like you've made this new discovery about units of alcohol, which everyone already knew.
No, I don't think they do. I genuinely think if you said to the average person, how many units of alcohol do you drink during the week? They would not say like 48 units on holiday.
Because no one's honest.
Yeah, no one's honest.
Everyone lies on those medicals.
No one's honest, but also they genuinely don't know. Because your wine glass is being constantly filled up and stuff like that. They just don't realise. I don't know.
You can just say no at those dinners. That's something that you're like, oh, I feel really rude when there's a really nice bottle of red. I'm like, just say no. It's not that difficult. I'm fine, thank you. I think the only issue I have with alcohol in terms of the, I guess, views around it is the only drug effectively that if you say you're not drinking, people will roll their eyes at. You hate me saying this, but there is a generational thing here. Your generation is a lot worse at it than mine. I can go out to any drinks, do any dinner now and not drink it and not be a problem. I like to go out on nice occasions, like our Christmas dinner. I was out with the lads last weekend and have 3, 4, 5 drinks and I feel great because the atmosphere, the energy and the environment, but I'm not effectively doing it to just get smashed. I'm doing it to enhance the environment and I'm fortunate that I can turn around after 5 drinks and say, that'll do me. So I think your relationship with alcohol is definitely the impact. But I found with someone who definitely had more of a binger approach when I was younger, he says being 27 years old, I find now my relationship is so good with alcohol that I'm able to just go out for a few drinks, but also have a few drinks across a long period of time. One of the things that really interests me about people who drink a lot is the sheer speed at which they drink at, which I would comment on yours, G-Dog. Your drinking speed is quite something, isn't it?
It varies. but I was looking again at just at the chief medical officer's recommendations, 14 units, and just to clarify what exactly that meant, right? So it means 7 glasses of wine per week, or 14 shots of spirits per week, or 6 pints of beer per week. So to your point, I think a lot of people would go out on a Friday night and maybe drink 6 pints of beer. So that's their entire week's consumption in one night. So the medical officer's guidance is to spread it out during the week. So doing your entire 14 units or six pints of beer on a Friday night is bad. Put that into context. 7 glasses of wine is 980 calories. 14 shots of spirits is 770 calories. And 6 pints of beer is 1,100 calories.
Right. So we're having 14 shots of DJ 42.
But it puts it into context, right? So if you are, to my point about my dry July getting ripped for August, right? Then, if you're having, 14 units a week, and in July you're cutting 4,000 calories from your consumption, right? So, and obviously most people would be probably having more than 14 units a week in July. So it just shows you how it can actually impact your, assuming you don't compensate with huge amounts of food instead. And a lot of people might do that. But there's a lot of arguments that actually when you're drinking 6 pints of beer, you might stuff yourself a little packet of crisps as well. So you end up having even more calories than the alcohol itself because it makes you hungry to go with it. But it's interesting that what alcohol actually makes you fatter than just the calorie content. which I thought was an interesting piece of medical science that I discovered. So what happens to your body when you consume alcohol is that your body prioritizes metabolizing the alcohol before the fat or carbohydrates. So that means it temporarily, effectively switches off the fat oxidization system in your body. So as a result, you end up raising your insulin sharply. It provides a fast energy and adds to your metabolic priority, as it's called. And that then causes you to increase the stored fats from your normal food intake. So if you think, okay, I'm going to have my 6 pints of beer, it's only 1,100 calories. Actually, maybe it ends up being 2,000 calories because of the impact on the fat oxidation in terms of your metabolic changes. So you've got to think about, if you cut out, those people who completely cut out beer do find themselves, if it's like 6 months to a year, really shredding.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
One of the reasons is this issue with fat oxidation and the fact that alcohol literally makes you fatter.
Wow. Are you going teetotal now?
No, obviously not. But it was. I'm always interested when I'm doing the research for these podcasts how much I get educated by it.
Yeah, it's
because I think that I sort of assume that I'm a pretty educated person when it comes to like nutrition and exercise and stuff like this.
But what shocks me the most is stuff you don't know sometimes. Admittedly, 9% of the time you come out with some absolute pearlers. Like that fascinating study you picked up about Moses and parting the seas on the Christmas special. That was a fascinating discovery.
Fascinating.
90% of the time you get it right. But then in moments like what you were reading out earlier, it's like you discovered some magical thing that cures a disease. Like, it's really interesting how you don't pick up on certain stuff.
True. Maybe it's a generational thing.
It might... Well, I do have one last point to make. There is a strong chance that many of you don't do this, but it is possible to do dry January and not tell anyone. Do you know that?
How do you do that?
So people can go to the pub and just get a non-alcoholic beer or get a non-alcoholic alternative and just not tell anyone about it.
That's a really good idea.
Because it really does become people's personality.
It does.
So if you are doing dry January, remember, you don't have to tell anyone. Should we wrap that up there, G-Dog?
Let's wrap it up.
And on that note, thank you so much for watching, listening to the Live for Life podcast. It's been great to be back in the studio with the G-Dog.
Love it.
Already can't wait for next time. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.